Alright, let me stop you right there because we need to talk about what's happening in Berea right now. And trust me, this isn't your typical off-season drama. This is the kind of situation that could define whether the Browns are legitimate contenders in 2026 or whether we're about to watch another promising foundation crumble before our eyes. Jim Schwartz walked out, packed his office, said his goodbyes, told people he was done. The architect of the most dominant defense this franchise has seen in decades just cleaned out his desk and left the building. Let that sink in for a second. The man who turned this defense into an absolute nightmare for opposing offenses, the coach who helped Myles Garrett shatter the single-season sack record with 23 takedowns, the coordinator who built a unit that allowed fewer yards than any team in football 2 years running, he was ready to walk away. And if you're a Browns fan, your first reaction was probably the same as mine. Panic. Pure, unfiltered panic. Because losing Jim Schwartz right now would be like watching your foundation crack just as you're about to build the second floor. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is why you need to pay attention to every word I'm about to say. This story isn't over. Not even close. According to Mary Kay Cabot and multiple sources inside the organization, Schwartz came back. Monday morning, he was back in the building, talking with ownership. No deal reached yet, but the door is still open. So what we're looking at here isn't necessarily a goodbye. It might be a negotiation. It might be a power play. It might be a man who's frustrated, disappointed, maybe even hurt, trying to figure out what his future looks like. And the Browns, they want him back. The players want him back. Ownership wants him back. But the million-dollar question, the one that's keeping everyone in Cleveland on edge right now, is this: does Jim Schwartz actually want to be back? Now, before we go any further, make sure you smash that like button and drop a comment below, because Browns Breakout is where you get the real story, not the hot takes and clickbait nonsense you see everywhere else. This is where we break down what's actually happening and what it means for this team's future. So go ahead, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's dive deeper into this situation because it's way more complicated than it looks on the surface. Here's what you need to understand about the new head coach, Todd Monken. He's got final say over his coaching staff. That's how this works. Even if Jimmy Haslam shakes hands with Schwartz and agrees to whatever number he's asking for, Monken has to sign off on it. And according to people inside that building, Monken made something very clear. He only wants Schwartz back if Schwartz is all in, not halfway committed, not checking boxes while his mind is somewhere else. All in. And honestly, that's exactly the right approach. Because what good does it do to keep a defensive coordinator who's mentally checked out, who's bitter about not getting the head coaching job, who's just counting down the days until he can interview somewhere else? That's a recipe for disaster. That's how you turn a top-5 defense into a dysfunctional mess. Monken was smart enough to recognize that, and he's drawing a line in the sand. But let's pump the brakes and talk about what Jim Schwartz has actually accomplished here, because the resume speaks for itself. Since he arrived in Cleveland, this defense has been absolutely elite. In 2023 and 2024, the Browns allowed the fewest total yards per game in the entire NFL. Not just good, historic. Opponents were getting suffocated, held under 300 yards on a regular basis. That's domination. That's the kind of defense that wins championships. And the pass rush? 49 sacks in 2023. 53 in 2024. Myles Garrett's record-breaking 23 sacks this past season. That didn't happen by accident. That happened because Jim Schwartz knows how to unleash elite talent. He knows how to put players in position to succeed. Guys like Grant Delpit, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Denzel Ward, they all elevated their games under his system. Even the run defense, which took a hit after Malik Collins went down, started the season absolutely mauling people in the trenches. This wasn't just X's and O's. This was culture. This was belief. Players trusted him. They played harder for him. They bought into what he was building. So yeah, losing him would hurt. It would hurt badly. And let's address the elephant in the room, because we all know what this is probably about. Jim Schwartz thought he had a legitimate shot at becoming the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And why wouldn't he think that? Look at what he's done. Look at the results. Look at the respect he commands in that locker room. But the Browns chose Monken instead. They went with the offensive guru, the guy who's supposed to fix the disaster we watched on that side of the ball last season. And maybe that stung. Maybe Schwartz feels overlooked. Maybe he's wondering if this is his last real chance to land a head coaching job. And if it is, does he really want to spend another year as a coordinator knowing the phone might not ring next offseason? That's the internal struggle we're talking about here. That's why Mary Kay Cabot floated the idea that if Schwartz stays and the Browns win big in 2026, he could get more head coaching looks next year. After all, we're seeing guys in their 60s like John Harbaugh, Mike McCarthy, and now Monken himself getting hired. So maybe the window isn't closed. Maybe one more dominant season as Cleveland's defensive coordinator pushes him over the edge and gets him that head coaching opportunity he's been chasing. But that only happens if he stays. That only happens if he commits. Now, let me be crystal clear about something, and this is important. Jim Schwartz is not the make-or-break piece of this team. Monken himself has said it. This defense isn't built on one man. It's built on elite players. Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, Grant Delpit, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, rookie sensation Carson Swaysinger, who just led all rookies with 156 tackles and is about to be named Defensive Rookie of the Year. This is a stacked roster. The talent is real. The foundation is there. The show will go on. But let's not kid ourselves. Keeping Schwartz would be the best-case scenario by a mile. It would preserve continuity. It would let Monken focus entirely on fixing the offense without worrying about the defense falling apart. It would give this team the stability it desperately needs heading into a season where expectations are going to be sky-high. So here's my message to Jim Schwartz, and I mean this with all the respect in the world. If you're in, let's go. If you want to be here, if you believe in what this team is building, make it known. Stop the back and forth. Stop the uncertainty. Fans are behind you. The organization is trying to make it work. But if your heart's not in it, if you're already looking at the exit, say it now. Let's stop dragging this out and move forward. Because the Browns need to finalize this coaching staff and start preparing for 2026. You've done incredible things in Cleveland. You've built something special. But this team can't wait forever. And if Schwartz does walk, the Browns are staring down a massive decision. Todd Monken needs a defensive coordinator who can maintain that aggressive, disruptive identity. You don't replace the best defense in the NFL overnight. You don't just plug in some random coordinator and expect the same results. If Schwartz leaves, the front office has to find someone who understands the scheme, who can preserve the momentum, who won't mess with the chemistry that's been built over the past 2 seasons. That's a tall order, because you're not just replacing a play caller. You're replacing someone who earned the respect of that locker room. You're replacing someone who took individual talent and molded it into a cohesive, high-performing unit. That trust doesn't automatically transfer to whoever walks through the door next. So the question becomes, if the Browns move on, who do they bring in? Do they chase a young up-and-comer who brings fresh ideas but might change the scheme? Or do they target a veteran coordinator who can keep the 4-3 base intact and minimize disruption? Either way, Monken's fingerprints have to be all over this decision. He might be an offensive guy, but as head coach, he's the unifying presence. He has to build trust on both sides of the ball. And that's what makes this so delicate. Monken walked into a locker room where the defense is already elite. His success depends heavily on that unit staying elite. If he loses Schwartz and brings in someone who changes too much or doesn't connect with the players, it could spiral fast. Suddenly, he's not just fixing the offense, he's putting out fires on defense too. That's the nightmare scenario. Let's take a moment to appreciate just how dominant this defense was in 2025. Ranked 4th in total defense. Top 3 in passing yards allowed. Just 22.3 points per game surrendered. That's elite. That's the kind of defense that keeps you in every single game, even when your offense can't score. And it wasn't just the stars. Carson Swaysinger, a rookie, put up 156 tackles, 2 interceptions, 2.5 sacks, 67 solo tackles. That's not just production. That's dominance. Combine that with Garrett, Delpit, Ward, and you've got a championship-caliber foundation. That's what's at risk here. This isn't about one coach. It's about preserving what's been built. If Schwartz walks and the Browns fumble the next hire, they're jeopardizing everything. This is also about sending a message to the locker room. Players are watching. They're seeing how ownership handles this. Are the Browns serious about winning now? Are they prioritizing the pieces that matter? If Schwartz walks and they botch the replacement, it sends a wrong signal. But if they lock him in, even if it costs more money, it tells the team we believe in what we've built and we're going to protect it. Of course, keeping Schwartz only works if he's truly committed. Nobody wants a disgruntled coordinator just collecting checks. That's why Monken's stance is so important. If Schwartz doesn't want to be here 100%, there's no place for him. And that's fair. This team needs unity, not distraction. But if Schwartz can recommit, If he's willing to push past the disappointment and lock in for one more run, then 2026 starts looking incredibly promising. You've got Monken dialing up the offense. You've got Garrett leading a ferocious defense. You've got young stars like Swaysinger anchoring the future. That's a blueprint for something special. That's why this decision matters so much. It's not just a coaching hire. It's a statement about who this franchise wants to be. So stay locked in because we'll keep you updated on everything happening with Jim Schwartz, Todd Monken, and the future of this defense. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and click the next video to keep the Browns coverage rolling. This is where you get the real story. Let's go Browns!